Good afternoon. First of all, I would like to thank the organizing committee for the management of the whole conference. I will start with an introduction of the place and circumstances of this work. Okay, here. The necropolis of Gadir is the burial place of the Phoenician and Punic population between the 7th and 3rd centuries BC in the current city of Cádiz in Andalusia, Spain, also with continuity in the Roman period. The necropolis itself has a long history of excavation and previous research. The background of findings and research of this topic has testimonies of interest from the modern period, mostly description of findings by scholars of the 16th and 18th centuries. However, the beginning of scientific historiography can be traced back to the discovery of the male anthropoid sarcophagus in 1887. Excavation and occasional publication then began, which will find a greater continuity from 1912 with the systematic work carried out by Pelayo Quintero Tauri in the area outside the walls. But his work was interrupted by the Civil War, and after it, only a handful of emergency excavation, most of them unstudied, allow us to rescue some indications of interest about the necropolis. After decades of uncontrolled urban growth in Cádiz, without archaeological controls, information will flow again with the resumption of preventing excavation from the 80s of the 20th century. Once again, the discovery of an anthropoid sarcophagus from the 5th century BC, the female one found in 1980, this identified as an essential milestone for the beginning of preventing archaeological work in the city. Since then, a large number of emergency archaeological activities have taken place with varying degrees of success in terms of the methodology used and the scientific dissemination of the results, but most of them remaining unpublished. Few studies have been published on the necropolis in recent decades, highlighting in relation to our project topic the works of Lorenzo Perdigones and Ángel Muñoz, some works on specific materials, such as goldsmith in engraved goods, such as that of María Luisa de la Bandera, Alicia Perea, or María Belén. Nowadays, urban intervention in the city of Cádiz continue to take place, although unfortunately very little is known about the results of these excavations, apart from the brief unpublished technical reports or so-called grey literature. That in most cases, the tendency has been to complete the excavation of the sites, submit the required reports, and deposit the materials in the museum, leaving blank what is related to the dissemination of the results. The project currently underway aims to review this question about the necropolis, including the materials we are going to present today. Let's look at some general facts about this type of knot. Okay. In common language, this knot is called a reef knot or a square knot, and is used to tie the two ends of the same rope so that they are secure. Originally in classical antiquity, this knot was known as Herakles or Hercules knot, so we can find it with both terminologies. Here we have preferred the Greek nomenclature of the hero, as it fits better with the chronology we are dealing with. The Heraklean or reef knot itself is formed by passing the two ends with half knots and again one on top of the other. It's easy to see it visually, as you can see in the GIF, as descriptions aren't usually very graphic. The knotting guides and manuals do not recommend using this knot with two different ends or ropes, as it can be very unstable.
Maria, can I interrupt? Sorry. Sometimes we listen to not so good. I don't know what happens.
Maybe it's from the...
Okay, so it's just for you to know. Okay.
Okay, I'm going to continue if anyone needs some clarification of some issue. I don't know exactly what happened with the audio. Sorry about the problems. Okay, I'm going to continue. Moving on the part that interests us in this conference, in the ancient world, this element will have an apotropaic function. It will be the protection of the wearer as an amulet after all. The knot appears in Egyptian, Greek, and Roman iconography, among other cultures, very broad outlines, and multiple variants. In Egyptian reliefs, they can be seen mostly as bed logs. Similarly, in archaic and classical Greek statuary, we see it as a knot in belts or in hair ribbons, elements that continue to be repeated until Roman period. We also see examples of very elaborate jewelry representing knots with a chronological and spatial range that is also quite broad. We could make a long list of Heraklean or Herculean knots representation in this presentation, but we will miss their point. Regarding textual source, Pliny the Elder says of this knot, it is quite surprising how much more speedily wounds will heal if they are bound up and tied with a Hercules knot. Indeed, it is said that if the girdle which we wear every day is tied with a knot of this description, it will be productive of certain beneficial effect, Hercules having been the first to discover the fact. So this will be a sign that this knot was related to healing, at least in the popular imagination. As we can see, this element must have been very popular among the people, even among the different economic classes, since it is a knot that can be easily made in any type of clothing. The wealthier classes will wear jewelry with this symbol as an amulet, since there is no real functionality in them. And the less wealthy classes will use the knot with the dual function of being a secure fastening for the clothes, and in addition, they make sure that they are protected with an apotropaic symbol. We're going to present here 4 Heraklean knots and their context, all found in the necropolis of Gadir, under the current city of Cádiz. All these jewels are stored in the Archaeological Museum of Cádiz. I would like to express my deepest thanks for the help they are giving us to be able to put together all the pieces of the puzzle that is the Phoenician-Punic necropolis. The piece with an older discovery date was the subject of a communication with what was presented to the Second Andalusian Congress of Classical Studies in 1984. The central theme of this work was Herculean knots, but with a very broad perspective. 34 years later, the most recently discovered jewel was presented, along with its archaeological context, at the NIMS International Congress of Phoenician and Punic Studies in 2018. This work includes a complete analysis of the tombs found in the excavation and also an historical analysis of the city during the Punic period. For the 2 remaining pieces, we do not have a specific publication, so we must go to the grey literature to complete the information of the findings and the original context. We are going to order the items by date of discovery, and we will give the general and specific characteristic of the pieces themselves and the tombs in which they appear. The first Heraklean knot that we are going to deal with is the one found in the so-called Playa de los Números in 1923. We are interested in the set of 7 cities built in with large aslars. In addition, there is not much information about the individual spirit, but we must note the credit for the exhaustive description of the objects and the entire group. Within the set, very exceptional, by the way, as not been looted and a large quantity of jewelry has been preserved. Tomb D is the one that interests us. In addition to the Heraklean knot, this tomb contains one or more necklace composed of gold, carnelian, and glass-based beads, a gold bead in shape of an acorn, another in the shape of a ram's head, a medallion with a rosette, and 3 ureus type faience amulets. In addition to this, a ring with 4 pendants, 2 rotating rings, 5 agates, and 4 normal rings. This knot does not have any kind of attachment system. It is the simple knot made with 2 gold loops, and it's formed by a cylinder to which a filigree ribbon has been added so that the section is geminated. The second item was found in 1997 in the excavation carried out in the Plaza Asdrúbal on the corner with Paseo Marítimo, a place with a long tradition of significant finds. We focus on burial 70, an inhumation of an adult in supine decubitus position and deposit in a simple grave dug in the clay. The pit, oriented northwest-southeast, was covered by 3 ashlars. His grave goods include a necklace with a Heraklean knot as a centerpiece and composed of gold, carnelian, and glass beads paste beads. The person also wore 2 gold plate bronze earring and a gold plate bronze ring on the left hand. The Heraklean node that appear here is double size. On one side, the one that will be the aesthetic outward view has 3 settings for placing amber gems which the central and largest one is preserved, which is also surrounded by a series of petals forming a large rosette. This other side will be the protector, which is composed of the symbol of the Heracles node, having also 4 loops through which the cord will be passed for hanging. Note in addition the double hook top and bottom, which will probably serve to prevent the piece from turning in the necklace itself. Moving on the 21st century, in 2005, an excavation was carried out in the so-called Palacio de la Justicia. Among the many late Punic and Roman burials, we find a few older ones, including inhumation 97. This is the burial of an adult in a simple grave dug in the clay with a northwest southeast orientation, and with the bones in a very poor state of preservation, as in the previous cases. The grave goods consist of a gold plate bronze earrings, although in very poor condition, and the necklace with the knot as the central piece, and gold and carnelian beads. The knot of this burial is remarkably similar to the one we have seen from the previous intervention, although with slight technical differences. It originally conserved 2 of the 3 amber gems, but these are not with the rest of the grave goods in the museum. It would also like to note how similar the composition of both necklaces is, so we can wonder about how these personal ornaments were sold. Finally, the excavation performed at Avenida Andalucía number 1 and 3 on the corner with Plaza de la Constitución number 2 in 2013 revealed 2 other sets of Punic cysts. Burial 32, located within a group of 6 cysts, is an inhumation of an adult, probably female, with doves due to the pure conservation of the bones, places in supine decubitus with a northwest southeast orientation, and placed inside the cyst that is filled with large ashlars. The grave goods of this tomb are composed of a necklace with an Heraklean knot as the central piece, gold, carnelian, and very small faience beads. Also, 2 earrings with a bronze center and gold plate, and 4 arrowheads with the same technique. This last piece is very similar to the first one we showed, but with the addition that it has a stone crimp that has been attached to the knot. This has a series of scratches on the inside, an action that we can see in other pieces of this type, and which could indicate an attempt by the artisans to offer a rounder surface on which to adhere the gem. Okay, putting together a little of the information provided as a conclusion, the knots are placed in necklaces composed of carnelian and gold beads, as well as faience or glass plate beads in some cases. We see this pattern in most of the necklaces from the necropolis tombs of the Punic period. And the chronology that we can provide is in a generic way, it's between the 5th century and the 4th century BC. The funerary treatment is practically the same, a simple burial, but we do see a difference in the place prepared for the eternal rest. The very rich grave goods match those of people who could afford to be buried in a cist built with ashlars, while others with simple grave goods are buried in a pit dug in the ground. The double face of some of the notes tell us of a double function, aesthetic on one hand, with these amber gems, and on the other hand, we will have the function of protection placed toward the wearer. The composition of the knots on the necklace tell us that they were always placed between the neck and the chest, but also in most cases we lack information about the original location of these pieces on the bodies. To conclude, and in order not to make up too much time, I will simply conclude that this is one of the most notable examples of the symbolism of amulets in the necropolis of Gadir, clearly influenced by Hellenistic tendencies, But there are still many more examples of amulets or apotropaic practice that have not been studied or investigated, and which we will gradually try to make known through the revision. Thank you very much for your attention.